You don't have an economy if the environment doesn't work.
That's a dinosaur-level extinction event.
We need to follow the money.
There's a genuine opportunity to get this right from the start.
The planet is really facing a set of pretty immediate crises. None of these are things that we are surprised by. They've been coming for decades. We've known for a long time that climate change was getting worse. We've known for a long time that we were losing species in our forests and in our oceans. Those are things we're going to have to change because it turns out the economy is a wholly owned subsidiary of the environment. It's not independent. You don't have an economy if the environment doesn't work, if you can't breathe the air or drink the water. So how do we solve these problems? These are things we also know. We know how to reduce emissions. We can have renewable power instead of coal. We know how not to cut down our forests, or if we cut them down, to regrow the trees. We know how to manage for ocean protection and avoid pollution. Those are things, though, that are not done only by individuals. Those are things that call for collective action, often policy action. Governments acting both individually and collectively through international agreements to do everything from protecting the atmosphere to managing biodiversity. That's the set of policies that we're interested in here at LSE and the things that we believe will be part of the future-proofing of the planet.
We're sleepwalking into a 6-mass extinction event. That's a dinosaur-level extinction event. Due to human activity, whether it's industrial-scale extraction, pollution, land use change, or consumption, that animals and plants across all categories, be it conifers, mollusks, or fungi, or amphibians, all animals which are non-human are declining rapidly. What this means is that not only are we less rich in terms of the fabric of life on Earth, but it also means a real threat to our own human well-being in terms of whether we have soil fertility, whether we have fresh water, whether we can regulate the climate. So how do we future-proof the planet? You can create spaces for non-human life in your everyday environment, in your balcony or your garden, for instance, with pollinator-friendly plants, or changing your diets in order to move towards slightly more plant-friendly ones. But ultimately, it is about changing the way our systems work. That's figuring out a way to price carbon as well as value natural capital, whether it's forests or our oceans. But that also means broadly thinking about what it would be to live alongside and flourish with non-human life in a way that we both enrich each other rather than extracting and living off it.
The world is electrifying fast. Electric vehicles, heat pumps, AI data centers, all of it requires electricity. At the same time, we're replacing fossil fuels with renewable energy. And that combination, whilst necessary, is pushing our electricity systems to a breaking point. What could genuinely future-proof the electricity system is making electricity grids intelligent, not just on the supply side, but on the demand side too. Using data and digital tools to make homes, businesses, and cities smarter about how and when they use power. Shifting the use of a washing machine to the middle of the day when solar energy is abundant. Charging an electric car before the evening rush when everyone gets home and demand spikes. Across millions of consumers, those small shifts can add up to something transformative. For low and middle income economies, now building grid infrastructure at scale, there is a genuine opportunity to get this right from the start. Designing intelligence and flexibility in from day one, rather than trying to retrofit it into systems built for a different era.
So what is the economic challenge? One of them is to say to people, look, if we adopt more sustainable lifestyles, we use green energy, we respect the natural environment, that's going to be both better for the kind of society we create, but it's also going to be better economically to do that. The political challenge is seeing this as a collective enterprise, an enterprise which we can all be part of, not feeling that we're doing this because experts and politicians are telling us this is what's good for us, but us reaching a consensus where we feel we're working together, not against each other. It's not a polarizing challenge. It's one which really is about creating a sense of cohesion and community that can deliver on it. So it's getting those economic factors and those political factors not to feel like they're pulling against each other, but the opposite, the feeling that they really can work together and create a more sustainable society through both the way the economy evolves and the way politics works.
There is enough food to go around for everyone in the world. 4 trillion worth of food is being produced across the globe. The problem is that what we now see is heavily subsidized food production in the global north, and less so in the global south, and particularly in Africa, where there is underspending, underinvestment in food. And that makes a large proportion of the African population vulnerable. It's been estimated that a quarter of the African population is food insecure. And we're talking about over 300 million people. Food production needs to be adaptive to a changing climate, which requires more spending, not less. That's where we need to do more to ensure that the future is one in which there's better distributed food, better food production across the planet.
We need to follow the money. This may not seem so obvious, but money has got power. Through our spending habits, or when we decide to allocate our savings to a bank account or an investment fund, we're effectively funding businesses and activities that can either support or slow down climate action. The problem is that these links are often invisible. And this is where our research comes in. At the TPI Center, we develop methods and tools to assess the progress that companies, banks, and sovereigns, the governments, make in their transition to a low-carbon economy. And better information leads to better decisions. For example, when institutional investors decide to allocate more capital to companies that are reducing carbon emissions as opposed to those who don't, this can create pressure for real change. And you can do that too. When you invest your money, choose climate-aligned financial products or ask more questions about the policies that your entities you're investing are adopting. So the big idea is simple. Make climate visible in finance, because the future of our planet depends on how we choose to use our money today.